Um, Welcome back again. This is now time for the main plenary session, Shaping the Future of Governance, which will be chaired by Dr. Najat Saruk. But before we begin with the plenary, please take note of a few important announcements. First, as you could see, the registration tables outside this auditorium will remain open for the rest of the day. Please make sure that you complete your registration. Secondly, a help desk is available in the same area for any assistance or information that you may need during your stay. That means the help desk is going to be available for you for the rest of the week as well. Classrooms, restrooms, and the lunch venue, you could see it, are clearly indicated in your conference materials and also in the building. At 1:30 p.m. during lunch hour, we will have the meeting of the IASIA Board of Management in the Terraza room. Just please make sure that those who need to be in the meeting of the Board of Management are in the Terraza room at, well, 1:30. Oh, Najat will, maybe correct the time now that we are lagging behind a few minutes. Then also at 2:30 p.m., we will have the meeting for panel and working group chairs. This meeting will be conducted by Professor Lisa Van Jardesveld at the Agora Luis de la Rosa. The Agora Luis de la Rosa is a big room right at the end of the corridor. So that would be at the end of the lunchtime, 2:30. So that we all join at 3 the panels for the day according to the program. And finally, please remember our welcome reception, to which everyone is warmly invited, would take place at the terrace rooftop 4:30 p.m. today in the 3rd floor. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and then we'll hand it over to Dr. Najat Saruk for the beginning of the plenary session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Corral. So, Cesar, are we ready? Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, honorable panelists of our first plenary session dedicated to the general theme of this conference on shaping the future of governance. So this theme is crucial and timely, since governance is the backbone of any society, any organization or institution, as mentioned in our concept note. Institutions play a crucial role in the achievement of all the Sustainable Development Goals, but also the other global agenda, the climate agenda, the Sendai Framework agenda, and also the climate agenda, and the other one is the new urban agenda. In particular, the SDG number 16. But public sector reforms needs to achieve the SDGs remain a major challenge in many countries today. This is why governance is key, because it provides a framework for sound decision-making, ensures ethical conduct, and builds trust between any organization or institution and its stakeholders. And effective governance is crucial to build trust in public institutions, to support a sustainable business and economic success. As it promotes effectiveness, accountability, transparency, and long-term growth by improving performance, reducing risks, and attracting investment. Since 2018, ECOSOC of UN endorsed the 11 Principles of Effective Governance drafted by my peers and colleagues, members of the Committee of Experts on Public Administration of UN, and they are linked to 62 commonly used strategies for operationalizing responsive and effective governance. Many of these strategies have been recognized and endorsed over the years in various United Nations forums, resolutions, and treaties. These principles are about effectiveness, accountability, and inclusiveness. Several countries have successfully established a supportive and enabling institutional environment, facilitating the implementation of these principles to address global, regional, and national agenda. Nevertheless, the public sector continues to face enormous and serious challenges and issues that affect seriously the trust in leaders and public institutions and slow down the momentum for sustainable development, leading to instability and security, rejection of reforms, poorly controlled and regulated migration movement, the rampant corruption, the brain drain, in particular in our continent Africa, giving space for poverty, underdevelopment, wars, and conflicts. Governance directly influences stability, well-being, and sustainable development, and also the effectiveness, the efficiency, the stability, and legitimacy of all governments worldwide. Thus, the centrality of our conference and the team chosen. To facilitate a frank, audacious, transparent, and impactful discussion, we are honored to organize this first plenary session on the conference team shaping the future of governance. To this end, allow me, all excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to warmly welcome you all in this segment of our program and to welcome our honorable panelists, namely Honorable Dr. Edgar Varela Barrios. He's the president of the Latin American Group for Public Administration, LACPA of Asia, from Colombia. We are honored also to welcome Honorable Mr. Peter van den Bruin, Advisor General, Manager, Key Skills Development Coordinator, International Relations, Federal Public Service Policy and Support, coming from Belgium. We are honored also to welcome Honorable Dr. Sarah Riffret, President of the Network of Schools of Public Policy, Affairs and Administration, NASPA, coming from the United States of America. And finally, we will have a video presentation from His Excellency, the President of IAS, Dr. Srinivas from India. Each panelist will have about, let's say, 10 to 12 minutes to make the presentation, whether a statement or through a PowerPoint, if Cesar managed to organize this for us. Thank you. And then we will open the floor for a discussion with our honorable audience. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for joining this plenary session. So, Cesar, if it's not, so let me give the floor, first of all, to Honorable Dr. Edgar Varela Barrios. Please, the floor is yours, Your Honor.
En español al principio. Mi nombre es Edgar Varela Barrios. Yo soy colombiano, soy el actual presidente del Grupo Latinoamericano por la Administración Pública, que es parte de la red mundial de IAS y Asia. Good morning for everyone. Dear Asia community from every place of the world, dear INAP community, my greeting especially to 70 anniversary of foundation. INAP is an institution with very traditional support in investigation and formation and profession in Mexico. Mexico is a country with capacities, very strong capacities in this field, in the field of public administration. From Mexico, in my opinion, they are the two major intellectuals in the field of public administration in all Latin America, Omar Guerrero and Luis Aguilar Villanueva. I invite from the rest of the world to read Omar Guerrero, to read Luis Aguilar Villanueva. In my opinion, their production is the exceptional level for the comprehension of the situation of the governance, particularly in Latin America. Only 2 weeks ago, we were in Lima, Peru, in the last conference of LACPA, with the support of CAP, the Andean Corporation of Investment, CLAD, the most important network in public administration in Latin America, and CEPAL, United Nations. And the subject of this conference was very similar to this subject. The title of the discussion was the governance, democracy, and digital government, a strategic challenge for Latin America public administration. We have a discussion about the main subjects in this perspective. In Latin America, in this conference, the subjects are los siguientes: displaced people, irregular migration e intra-regional migration, the exceptional situation of the population in this age that are human beings but not citoyens. It's not citizenship by the migrants. It's a big problem global, but it's a big problem also in Latin America. The second problem was the insecurity and urban violence, not only in the urban regions, but in the country. There are in high tide of violence in all Latin America countries. And third, inequity, but it's the most important data about inequity in all around the world in Latin America. And finally, the main problem is the political instability and the crisis of the liberal democracy in our region. Today, there are a big strike in the streets of Quito, Ecuador, today. The last week, Congress in Peru destituted the President Dina Boluarte, 7 presidents and 11 years in Peru. And other countries in Latin America, like Venezuela, have the support the populist authoritarianism with fraud in election last month ago, and models authoritarian like Nayib Bukele and El Salvador, Javier Milei, the intention to establish a model ultraliberal in Argentina, etc. I think that the problem with governance is the crisis of the democracy. In my opinion, the main problem of governance is the gap between this notion, this concept, and the reality. Renate Mains, Guy Peters, Luis Aguilar Villanueva, Sabatier and Jenkins, 3 or 4 decades ago, established a formula about governance. Governance like cooperation between public and private actors, governance like cooperation between different branches of the power, governance like cooperation from the state with diverse spheres of civil society. But today, the reality is completely different. It's not function from governance in the ancient model, because there exists in transformation in political culture. I'm not sure about the notion transforming mindset. What is the lemma of this conference? One of the 3 lemmas. Because I am professor for the case, I'm not sure that the professors, the universities, have the capacity to transforming mindset. Today, mindset was transforming, is transforming, but the social media was transforming by the utilization of artificial intelligence, by the biotechnological revolution, by the transformation in the political culture, in the social culture, etc. I think that is a better idea, estudiar to now the characteristic transformation of the culture for adapting programs and curriculum face-to-face resolve this problem. Another field is increasing knowledge. I think that is a good idea. There isn't a point with very fruitful effort, but it's necessary to study the transformation of this field of public administration. I said that Gerd Bucaer, for example, in Brussels affirmed the gap between public administration theory and the structure institutional for governance in all countries, including Europe. I think that is necessary. Will new paradigm result new situation about the characteristic of the knowledge in the field of public administration. I think that is necessary interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, philosophical foundation for public administration, ethical foundation for public administration, and research program global to study the new transformation in the culture, in the communities, in the culture, in the institution. In my opinion, is the problem, central problem for our discipline. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for sharing with us the main problems facing today public administration and governance, and also making some key recommendation about our team. So let me now invite Honorable Professor Peter van der Bruin, if his PowerPoint is ready on the screen. What about the PowerPoint, please? So, Professor, the floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm not a professor. I'm Peter van den Bruin from Belgium, and I'm a practitioner. I work for the Federal Public Service Policy and Support. We train Belgian federal civil servants. In the next couple of minutes, I'd like to share with you some of my reflections on the conference theme for my position as a practitioner. I haven't got a pointer, so I hope every time I say next, the next slide will appear. When my grandma was born, and this is more than 100 years ago, change did not happen very often. There was some change once in a while. All of a sudden, there were automobiles arriving, and 10, 20 years later, there was the first train. Change did not happen very often. And as a result, administrations in that time, because yes, even then there were administrations, they were pretty doing much the same thing they'd been doing the year before, and 10 years before, sometimes even 20 years before. Next. Things have changed. And in some of the introductions we heard this morning, we heard already of some of the challenges, the arrival of AI, climate change, worldwide migration. Lots of things are changing. The fact that our customers, our citizens, the people the public service is working for are getting more and more demanding. When they buy a new pair of shoes, they want it to be delivered on the same day. Well, they have the same expectations towards government, civil service, public administration. They want to use their smartphone, and with a couple of clicks, they want to have the birth certificate being processed. They don't want to wait for a month before 25 different public servants have put a stamp on a piece of paper. Things have changed. How are we, as a public service, ready to face that change? Next. When I got the invitation to participate, I was very happy to see that the major key points of this conference were all about transformation in mindsets, upskilling public servants, and expanding knowledge to face complex modern challenges. And I thought, wow, yes, this is it. This is it. 3 simple words: expanding knowledge, upskilling public servants, and transformation in mindsets. And then I asked, okay, I told you I'm a practitioner. How are we going to do this in practice? Because it's easy to talk about this in a conference. It's easy to reflect on this around the table with colleagues from around the world. But one way or another, it will trickle down to the people in the organizations, in the ministries, and it'll be their task to expand knowledge, upskill public servants, and make sure there's a shift in mindsets. Next. Expanding knowledge. Next. That's an easy one. I thought, and when I saw the word knowledge, I thought back about years ago. Next. When I was a teenager, this is a picture of my school, secondary school, where I was between 12 and 18. Had a nice time there. I got a lot of knowledge over there. And one of the topics I got knowledge in was French. I'm from the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. We have 2 languages, 3 languages, but French is a language. So I studied French. I read lots of medieval French poetry, Verlaine. I studied so many different grammar things, and I got very good grades because my teachers told me that my knowledge in French was good. Next. And then when I was 17, there was this school trip to Paris, and I went into this grocery shop because I wanted to buy some snacks and vegetables, and all of a sudden I realized that I could not find the right words to ask for these groceries and vegetables. You recognize that? Yeah? Because I'd spent so much time reading medieval poetry and I loved it. And I had good marks for French, remember? And yet, in practice, it didn't help me because the knowledge I had acquired was not in line with what was needed in real life. I'm going to talk just about our own Belgian civil service, but I can tell you that we've been training civil servants for many, many years. We try to put so much knowledge in their hands, but sometimes maybe there was no direct link between that knowledge and what they needed in order to perform in the way we expected. Next. Knowledge is fine, and I agree we have to think about expanding knowledge because that's the first thing we need, but we need more than knowledge. We need skills. We need skills put in practice, in action and behavior. And then when you put them in action, they become practice. We are looking at competences. Next. Upskilling and reskilling was the second keyword. Next. And I was like, yeah, sure. But upskilling and reskilling is not just giving more theoretical courses to our civil servants. They might need some more knowledge, but this is not going to work anymore. In the past, we thought that we could put people in an auditorium like this, talk to them. What I'm doing is conveying knowledge to you. I'm not sure how much of that will be useful. Next. So, what is a better example? This is a painting by Rembrandt, the famous Dutch painter. And this painting, it's a beautiful painting. You can see it in Amsterdam. And it shows the anatomy lesson by Dr. Nicholas Tulp. This was set more than 500 years ago, and it is mind-breaking because Professor Nicholas Tulp did not do like many other teachers did or professors did, giving some theoretical knowledge about the human body. No, he was one of the first ones to drag a dead body into the teaching room, and he cut open the dead body and he showed how the things were. So from knowledge, he moved to practice. And the students got to train and exercise. He made the link to the real life situation. Next. We're trying to develop competences, but in Belgium, we're also trying to develop talents. And I think it's important when we're talking about upskilling and reskilling our civil servants that we do not only look at competencies, but we also look at talents. And sometimes people ask me, Peter, what's the difference between competencies and talents? And I use this example of the school report. Who of you has a son or daughter who's at primary or secondary school? Can you please raise your hands? Son or daughter in primary or secondary school? Okay, quite some amongst you. Now just imagine that your son comes home with a school report and it says geography 7 out of 10, mathematics 3 out of 10, English 9 out of 10. How are you going to react as a parent? Angry? Yes. I bet some people say, well, I'm not sure. I will say if it's only one. Frankly, if it happens quite a lot, I think as a parent, you'll say, well, you only have 3 for mathematics. Come on, study extra hard. Develop your competence in that field. That's the competency approach. And sometimes we need it. Because when our civil servants lack the necessary competencies, we need to train them and help them to bridge the gap. But the talent approach is looking at that school report and say, well, you got a 9 out of 10 for English. And last month you also had excellent results for English. Maybe English is your talent. The way you're going to be successful in life is try to turn that 9 out of 10 into a 9.5 out of 10. In our civil services, maybe there are in every group, in every team, people who have already more experienced with certain things, and they like it because it's their talent. We should also pay attention to that. If you want to keep a motivated workforce, give them the scope and opportunity to deploy these talents. Take into account the great characteristics they already may have. Next. Because one way or another, I'm sure the reason you're all here is because you've used your talents and you've developed your talents, and not because you covered your weaknesses. Next. In Brussels, I'm not the only Belgian. The Smurfs are Belgian as well, in case you didn't know yet. Yes, they're Belgian. Chocolate, beer, and the Smurfs are most important export products. In front of the Central Railway Station, I took this picture just a day before I left. Quality education is one of the sustainable development goals. Quality education, we're talking about upskilling, reskilling people. We're talking about the quality of our human resources management, the quality of our leadership. Next. But then my question is always, right, what is quality? It's easy, once again, in a discussion like this, to talk and philosophize about the quality of our public service, whatever. What is quality? On the left, McDonald's. On the right, a little food stall in Sumatra, Indonesia, where I lived for 4 years, where I sometimes ate in stalls like this. Okay, I'll let you choose. You could only choose one thing. Who of you identified the left picture with quality? Please raise your hands. I'm inclined to say, not even the Americans amongst us. What about the right-hand picture? Who says this is quality? I see a vast majority there. Okay. Open for discussion. Let me tell you that McDonald's is famous for its quality control. Every single step in the process is quality controlled. They have quality managers, standardized things. The right-hand side, I don't know. Maybe they're just waiting for someone from the food agency inspection, but there's no food agency inspection there. And yet, for some of you, this is better quality. It's subjective. This means if we're talking about raising the quality of our public administration, if we're talking about raising the quality of our training systems, we have to make sure that we know what we're talking about. Next, training quality. We define it in Belgium as training that delivers on expectations, training that reaches the objectives, training that has effect and impact in the working place. Not just adding knowledge, 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 but if we add knowledge, if we develop competencies and talents, that we select what to develop in function of what kind of behavioral change do we expect to see in our public service? Next. And two very important steps in that quality cycle, because yes, even in public administration, we have to follow quality approaches. Maybe some of your organizations are following the PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, act. Well, the planning phase, the phase where you make a needs analysis, for your organization, for your team, for your individuals, what do we need to develop? What do we need to upskill? That is an important step in the training needs assessment. And my colleague Melanie Recour, who's sitting there, will give a presentation on this in the working group focused on learning and development tomorrow. And the checking phase is quality linked, and that's how you make training evaluation. And I'll be giving a short presentation on that on Wednesday in the same working group, if you're interested. Next. Last thing, transforming mindsets. Yes, I think we all agree after all the many, many challenges that we've seen, we need to transform mindsets. Has anyone got any quick solution how to transform a mindset? It's not that easy. Acting by example. Yes. Next. This is a cabin crew. Well, many of you have been flying here, flying to other places. Cabin crews all over the world get training, how to increase their skills, competencies, and as a result, whenever they give you something to eat, they're passing in the gangway and asking you, pasta or chicken, sir? Pasta or chicken? And some of the aircrew asking this, you see them walking around in the aisle with a face like this. They arrive at you and they know from that training they have to smile once or they, pasta or chicken, sir? And when the question is gone, they're gone again. Recognize that? And there's a difference with airlines. And I should say, I've had wonderful experiences with Asian airlines. If you fly some of the European airlines, you may get the pasta or chicken smile and then the service disappears. Why is that? Well, next. Because it's not only about training and it's not only about changing knowledge and skills and competences. This is the top of the iceberg. Your skills, the skills of your staff in your public service, you can identify them, you can see them, they're visible. Knowledge, competences, we can measure it. At universities, you're the experts, you're good at that, to measure knowledge. There are lots of tests for that. But then you put people in real life, and then there's lots of things happening under the surface. There's attitudes, there's values, there's beliefs. There is the mindset of people. And they will have a great impact on how they behave in real life. Next. So, if we take this into account, we have to put in place different mechanisms to train people on their attitudes. And sometimes it's even hard to do that. So this is why we've also in the Belgian administration sometimes said we're going to change the registration, the recruitment processes. We're not testing on knowledge anymore when we recruit new civil servants. Because why should we? We're asking for degrees, and universities have checked the knowledge already. We need to check not only skills and competences, but attitudes as well. Do people have the necessary civil service attitudes to start working for us? Because if they have the right civil service attitude, if they want to serve the citizens, not just look for a job, which is a 9-to-5 job, and offer some stability, but if they want to serve, if they don't have the right knowledge, who cares? You can develop that easily. If they don't have the right skills, you can develop that easily. But if they have the skills, but they have the wrong attitude, good luck. It'll be hard to change that. And if you want motivated staff, know that motivation is a combination of knowing why they're doing things, purpose. You mentioned management by example. Yes. Explaining them also why they're doing things, giving them autonomy to make decisions for themselves, and mastery, yes, upskilling them, reskilling them, providing the competences which are necessary to do their jobs. Next. This is my last slide. Years ago, I had the chance to visit our colleagues from Singapore. Anyone from Singapore here in the room? No? You're from Singapore? No, you're not. When I went to the Institute of Public Administration there, I had an appointment. I entered the building, and when I entered the building, at the entrance I saw a beautiful vase with flowers, orchids. And there was a cleaning lady, I guess, who was rearranging that vase with flowers. And I went to her and I said, wow, that's a nice bunch of flowers you've got here at the entrance. Now, this happened almost 20 years ago. And I have not forgotten until today what she told me. She looked me in the eyes, and with a smile on her face, she said, "Yes, sir. This is my task. This is how I contribute to making the visitors to our institutions feel welcome. This is how I contribute to the goals of our organization to make people who come here feel at ease and welcome." And I was like, wow. She didn't say, "My boss told me to do so." And I'm sure that if her boss was no longer there because he was on a holiday, she would still be putting that vase with flowers there every single day because she knew what the purpose was of what she was doing. She knew how she contributed to the overall organization. We will be discussing many different topics over the next couple of days. And I hope that in different presentations, you will find inspiring ideas, inspiring practices on expanding knowledge, but not only knowledge, also competencies and talents. I hope that you will find inspiring ideas about upskilling and reskilling your civil servants in your countries and your organizations. And I hope you will find some inspiring ideas about how to change mindsets and work on attitudes and those kind of things which are less visible. So that if I ever have the chance to visit your organization next year or in 2 years from now, and I enter in one of the offices of your public service or university, and I see someone working there, and I tell that person, "Wow, that's an interesting job you're doing here," I hope then that that person will look me into the eyes with a smile on her face, say, "Yes, Peter, let me explain you why I'm doing this." Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Peter. Indeed, a very inspiring presentation, very provocative for all of us, and I'm sure it will raise a lot of questions from the audience. And it focused in particular on the need to work to change mindset. Thank you very much. So allow me now, dear colleagues, to have the honor to give the floor to Honorable Dr. Sarah Dienfred, President of NASPA. And I see in the biography that she's recently elected as president. So please, a round of applause for her election and for this trust from her peer. So Professor Sarah, the floor is yours, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Rinfrey, and I was just elected or assumed this role on Friday, so just a few days ago. So really excited to be here today with you to represent NASPA, our network of schools of public policy, affairs, and administration, our global organization. I also, my day job, has anyone been to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona? Near the Grand Canyon, yay. We just finished up our global conference last week there. So I am a professor and director of public administration at Northern Arizona University as well. But just to start, this is my 20th year in higher ed. Prior to that, I was a practitioner and working for gubernatorial offices, but then also with budget for the state of Ohio in the United States. But my real passion is public service and the scholarship of teaching and learning. And I'm really excited to engage with you this week, especially with sustainability development goals. My area of expertise has been environmental policy for the last couple decades. And so I think really at the forefront of our work is so important today in ensuring that we have a pipeline of public service, but also tackling some of those really tricky problems across the globe, and it really takes a global network to ensure that we have a pathway moving forward. I'm originally from a rural farming community, And I firmly believe public service is a place for us to offer humility, kindness, and empathy, especially today in a world of chaos. And unfortunately, in the United States, I'm sorry. So today I'm here to represent NASPA, and I'm also with my colleague here, our executive director, Martha Bort. She's down in the front, so make sure you say hello to Martha. And we're really firmly committed into serving our communities through the lens of scholarship, teaching, learning, and practical side. And our organization exists for public service education and to promote the ideal of public service. So we're really excited to put our mission together this week to engage with all of you and our global partners in conversing in dialogue. One of the things that has really been missing, I think, with artificial intelligence and the pandemic is that we often don't pick up the telephone or have conversation in the hallway. And so thinking about how we can move beyond maybe some of the technology and thinking about how we can engage in dialogue together. So my colleague Peter was just talking about upskills, and I know this, I really look forward to your questions today as well. But some of the things that we've been working on at NASPA, our global organization, in terms of upskills for not only students, practitioners, and students, I would just want to highlight some of those. Everyone in this room, we offer the Journal of Public Affairs Education. This is a global journal for practitioners, students, researchers that really honors the scholarship of teaching and learning. And so offering a space for you that might be talking about what you're teaching and upskilling students to editorials, to case studies. We really want to encourage you to participate in JPay, which is a great venue for us to expand our network of knowledge. We also, if you're a member of NASPA, we have a phenomenal simulation. This is a remote simulation with our global partners for students to engage and working across the globe. This year, we'll be working on wildlife mitigation, because I know a lot of us, due to climate change, are dealing with a lot of different forest fires across the globe. And so our students, we want to make sure that we're providing a space for preparedness. We also have public cases, which is accessible for folks to engage in case studies, so our students can have the skills as practitioners or future scholars. And our bread and butter is accreditation. I think one of the best things is that accreditation provides skills for those of us in the room to make sure that we have data-informed decisions, evaluation tools, and ensuring that our curriculum is most relevant and up-to-date, and presenting data to ensure that we're making informed decisions. We're really excited this year that one of the things that is really fundamental to expanding knowledge is building a pipeline of future leaders. We have NASPA Next, which is open to emerging scholars, and this year they'll be embarking on leadership skills and development across the globe to ensure that we have a pipeline. You know, we often call it the silver tsunami of the bureaucracy, where folks are retiring in higher education and across our institutions, but we really need to make sure that we have a pipeline for future leaders and ensuring that they have the skills. How many of you in here and your organizations have a succession plan? So I asked this on Friday as well, and many of us do not have succession planning in our organizations. And so thinking about how this is an opportunity for us to build the pipeline, not only in higher ed, but across the globe. So one of the things that we need to work on is bringing people together to amplify the public service education. And we do this by transforming mindsets through deep reflection. So we talk about shifting mindsets, but what does this really mean? And I wanted to encourage us to think about how we can deeply reflect on the changing world and how we can work together. Because trust grows when we listen and we tell the truth about what's not working and how we can offer solutions. If the public doesn't trust us and they don't believe us, then our policies cannot succeed. So I encourage us this week in finding ways on how we can mobilize to advocate together and learning from each other. Our public service curriculum, scholarship and teaching at its core, enhances skills. So considering renovation or reimagination and how we don't just talk about change, we build scaffolding to support it. So thinking about when we do a variety of different reporting, really truly thinking about implementation and how we implement that to affect our communities. We also really need to focus again, like I had everyone raise their hands, about succession planning and global professional development for the next generation. And like I shared, NASPA Next is a peer learning example, and I'm happy to share this with folks for new and emerging careers to create that pipeline. And importantly, we have to work together to embrace and offer trainings in civic courage, ethical leadership, and community engagement. And ultimately, expanding knowledge occurs through reimagination. We need to center learners and communities and not measure success by who benefits, but really redesigning curriculum for well-being, community partnerships, and global engagement, and expanding our member services beyond accreditation. Our global presence, it shouldn't just be a presence, it should be a global strategy of working together. And we do this because NASPA affords a network of networks and uses indigenous knowledge and global perspectives to reimagine public service. And so I live in the Southwest of the United States, but I know many of you across the globe live in spaces with indigenous knowledge, and that's a space for us to make sure that the original inhabitants of our land can inform a pathway forward for public service. So how do we create a safe and supportive community when many of us do not feel safe across the globe? I know I work at an institution. I don't know if you've heard of ICE. Has anyone heard of ICE? So I work at an institution or in a state where ICE is going into classrooms and taking students. And so I think for many of us, this has occurred across the globe and similar to the Gestapo, and just really thinking about how we can take a pause and reflect in terms of how we can support each other. So we engage in civic courage by working together as partners to challenge misinformation, advocate for equity, and stand up for ethical governance. And we fight for it with facts, with compassion, and with community to combat misinformation. So in closing, we can't do this alone. Partnerships with peer networks are vital for our future. And so what does it mean for us to work together? We need to share ideas, challenges, and solutions. We build bridges across countries, disciplines, and generations. Things are challenging right now, but challenges also afford us opportunity. And our communities are calling us and they need us. So I invite us today by starting with conversation and discussion about coming together to forge solutions for a collective public service future. So thanks for being here. I'm really excited to be part of this panel, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah, for all these key messages about how we can enhance our knowledge and also change our mindset. And I took from her presentation, we cannot do it alone, indeed. So since we are running late because we have a board meeting just after, now we have to present the video message from His Excellency, Dr. Srinivas, President of IAS. If it's ready, please.
Respected Session Chair, Dr. Najat Zarruq, the President of IASIA, distinguished panelists, distinguished rapporteurs, in this plenary session, I'm privileged to present Indian experience of shaping the future of governance and the next generation administrative reforms India has implemented under Prime Minister Modi from the period 2014 to 2025. My presentation is divided into 6 chapters: India's policy for good governance, recognizing meritocracy, effective redressal of public grievances, improving service delivery, benchmarking governance, and secretariat reforms. Prime Minister Modi's vision of maximum governance, minimum government seeks to ensure that for the overall development of the country, unnecessary interference by the government and government processes in the lives of the people has to be ended. The best manifestation of the maximum governance, minimum government policy is a digitally empowered citizen and a digitally transformed institution. One of the big steps that we have taken up is revamping of the Prime Minister's scheme for excellence in public administration to recognize meritocracy in civil service. These awards are conferred by the Honorable Prime Minister to civil servants for outstanding performance, for driving innovations, for institutionalization of best practices, and for their emphasis on good governance, and also promoting interdepartmental and interministerial cooperation and people's well-being. The awards are conferred by the Honorable Prime Minister on 21st April, the National Civil Services Day, and this year's National Civil Services Day was celebrated on 21st April 2025, in which nearly 260,000 civil servants across India participated in physical as also in virtual mode. These best practices are documented and disseminated through regional conferences. Let me share some of the best practices that received the Prime Minister's awards for excellence in public administration. Face authentication, implemented by the Unique Identification Authority of India, brings in artificial intelligence into governance and has been widely used for digital life certificates of pensioners and also for Digi Yatra at airports across the country. Similarly, India's CoWIN platform has enabled very significant upscaling of COVID vaccinations, and more than 2.2 billion COVID vaccine doses could be administered across the nation. In fact, we had a single-day global record of 255 million doses being administered using the CoWIN platform. PM Gati Shakti is another Prime Minister's Award recipient nomination, which has received national acclaim and has enhanced logistics efficiency across the nation. The second area that I would like to touch upon is India's policy for effective redressal of public grievances. The national platform, the centralized public grievance redress mechanism, has been the foundation for smart government in India. It's a 24/7 digital platform, which is currently the world's largest citizen interface with more than 3.1 million citizens who are registered on it and more than 12 million grievances being redressed in the last 5 years, that is from the period 2019 to 2024. We've also seen that the average grievance redressal time has been achieved of 12 days and an average satisfaction level has reached 62%. The CPGrams, which is a 24/7 digital platform, has been rated as amongst India's 100 big technology ideas that will take India into its 100th year of independence, that is 2047. It has also been recognized by the Commonwealth Secretariat as a state-of-the-art grievance redressal system that has transformed the lives of citizens across India, redressing millions of grievances. The centralized public grievance redress mechanism is backed by a number of knowledge partners, including Indian Institutes of Technology, National Institute of Smart Governance, National Informatics Center, as also the Common Service Centers, MyGov, and all the state administrative training institutes, feedback call centers. So there is a very large ecosystem of technology players who support the successful implementation of CPGrams. The records are documented by the Quality Council of India. One of the big reforms that we had taken up in the CPGrams platform was the 10-step reform of CPGrams that was pursued from 2022 to 2025. The 10-step reform of CPGrams has enabled significant scaling up of the portal with universalization of grievance redressal officers, technology enhancements by using artificial intelligence, large language models being brought in, as also a grievance redressal assessment index which maps ministries and departments on a monthly basis being brought in. The CPGrams has been evolved as a one nation, one grievance portal with all the grievance portals of central ministries as also that of the state governments being integrated, as also reverse integrated for seamless movement of public grievances. A data strategy unit to enable us to handle big data has also been established and operationalized. The CPGrams also is available on a mobile application and is one of the major technology enhancements that we've taken. So you build a digital platform that is very strong, you add artificial intelligence to it, and the quantum of transformation in terms of governance models is quite significant. The CPGrams is currently available in 22 Indian languages, and millions of India's citizens access it from their regional languages, and the replies to them are given by the government in the same languages. In addition to the focus on effective redressal of public grievances, India has also focused on improving service delivery and also on benchmarking governance. Our efforts for improving service delivery are based upon the National E-Services Delivery Assessment. The National E-Services Delivery Assessment is a biannual publication backed by monthly publications called National E-Services Delivery Assessment Way Forward, which monitor the progress of integrated service delivery portals across states as also central ministries. We also implement the National E-Governance Award Scheme, which recognizes the innovations in e-governance, as also celebrate e-governance through the National Conference on E-Governance on an annual basis. The parameters on which the National E-Services Delivery Assessment is based is accessibility, content availability, status and request tracking, ease of use, as also privacy and data security. We added 3 more parameters: open government data, e-participation, and leveraging emerging technologies to this assessment process. And the assessments and also periodic publications have enabled a significant scaling up of the number of e-services that India provides. In the last 2 years alone, India's e-services map has undergone a significant transformation, and today we have achieved 23,450 services as e-services. It is expected that in the next 2 years, India would achieve an almost saturation of e-services across the country. We also have developed metrics for developing and mapping good governance. The Good Governance Index, with covering 10 sectors and 58 indicators, represents India's efforts for comparative public administration and mapping good governance across states and union territories. Over the last 6 years, what we have seen is that there is a 10% improvement in the quality of governance models across states. Further, we have tried to take it up on a disaggregated level right up to the districts. So more than 400 districts across India have been mapped on the District Good Governance Index, covering the states of Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Jammu and Kashmir, and Arunachal Pradesh. Further expansion of the District Good Governance Index is on the anvil. India has also tried to digitally empower its citizens, and one of the major steps that we have taken is the digital empowerment of pensioners by creating an end-to-end pension processing portal called Bhavishya. This has been backed by a national campaign on digital life certificates from 1st to 30th of November, which targets about 20 million Indian citizens. So we've managed to use face authentication for enhancing and improving pensioner welfare by reaching out to every pensioner at his home. Secretariat reforms are implemented to ensure a digitally agile secretariat and a digitally transformed secretariat. So today, almost 90% of paper in India's central secretariat is handled through e-office. In fact, 100% of the receipts, as also 90 to 95% of the files, are handled on e-office. Our efforts for increasing efficiency in decision-making have been marked by a 4-pillar approach of delayering, digitization, delegation, and desk officer system. The impact of this 4-pronged initiative has enabled creation of flatter organizational structures, with number of levels of file processing coming down from over 7 levels to 4 levels, more than 500,000 receipts being processed as e-receipts per month, interministerial movement of files, and almost 95% of our total files being processed as e-files. Distinguished colleagues, I've tried to share with you the journey of India's next generation administrative reforms and the transformative governance models that has improved the lives of millions of Indians and has also ensured creation of a digitally agile governance and a digitally transformed institution with the ultimate objective of digital empowerment of citizens under the policy maxim, maximum governance, minimum government. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for sharing with us the experience from India. And we can see where there is a political will, there is a way to shape a better future for the governance. So with this presentation, we have finished our agenda. And join me, please, to thank our panelists. Thank you very much for your presentation. I am a little bit concerned because we promised to open the floor for a few questions, but keep in mind that we have other sessions about the same theme of our conference. So let me just take one or two questions from the floor, and then I will give the floor to Professor Lisa for a few takeaways from this session. Thank you very much. Just present yourself, introduce yourself, and brief questions, not presentations, please. Professor Tamer, please. There is a microphone, please. Microphone. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I think you are talking about that politics. You cannot talk about governance reform, public administration reform, policy making without politics. It is better to do. It is the level of conflict, the macro level. And we live in a very dangerous politics. We see an erosion of democratic institutions. I believe as we see that the department is dismantled because of politics, which are outcomes of the democratic process. Latin America, at the same time, is a very mighty continent. And I hear the direction of governance and public administration. So in this context of complexity, So in this context of complexity, governance under complexity, with serious threats of erosion of democracies and the emergence of new systems of political governance, as we see in the US and other parts of the world, in a very changing world, what's an advice from your seat, from your position, to practitioners, to scholars, how to mediate through this complex environment, complex dynamics, how to preserve the good values of governance of public service while we have to serve politics and we have to serve people and the social contracts of these countries? It's a big question, but again, I think we deserve more discussion on this because that's the elephant in the room. We're very focused on the micro level, but we are really avoiding the big context and the big picture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tamer. And he's coming from Palestine, but based in, in the Arab world, let's say. Thank you very much. Maybe you react to his question? Yeah.
Latin America is a region with weak institutions in public sector. It's different to Europe, it's different to Canada, it's different to United States. The appeal to the state is on process, not finished. But in the local government, there are good news. There's more legitimacy for mayor, governors, public universities, the judiciary system. In my opinion, there is a big difference between the central sphere of government with many problems with authoritarian tendencies to centralize the power in the presidential, executive government. But in the local government, in the regions, there are more participation in more democracy, local democracy. I think that is a good opportunity to expand the experience for mayor and governors and decentralized institution from the government to support the democracy. For example, Peru funciona without president. The civil society function in Peru, mayors, governors, the productive system function. Similar case in Colombia, similar case in another countries. I think that the crisis of presidentialism is the incapacity of the presidential system to govern, to domain the society.
Very much, Professor. So one more question. Yes, please. Yeah. Not presentations, please. We don't have time.
Question is for Professor Peter. It's about changing the mindset. So because of the problem, not only for presidents, but also for congressmen and congresswomen, the problem is that this mindset, how can we change this mindset? Is it a problem of government? Is it the problem of the society? Is it the problem of culture? How we can face this problem?
Okay, I'll try to be brief. It's difficult, and I think in my presentation I made it clear it's difficult. One of the comments in my presentation was leading by example, and it's difficult to lead by example if you're, how shall I say, if you're in a position where regardless whatever you're doing, you're getting away with that. And one very specific example from the Belgian federal administration, we had a huge reform 20 years ago. Leading by example meant for us installing new management, top management as well. And this is why we changed the promotional system for top managers. We declared all their positions vacant. And from now on until today, all top managerial positions are mandate functions, contractual, 6 years, evaluation open to anyone with a certain managerial experience. I understand you cannot apply that to who is your president or who's your minister. But once the people elected try to lead by example and try to, and this is, I think, the most biggest challenge also, to try to trickle it down into the administration, leading by example is one of the solutions, and installing systems career-wise, evaluation-wise, performance appraisal-wise, that make sure that you got the right people in place.
Thank you very much, Professor. Final comment, please.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to your question too, in terms of advice. I think oftentimes in the academy, we provide these philosophical pieces, but I guess 3 really quick points. Number 1, partnerships. So everyone in this room, we should be partnering to share resources to continue to promote public service education. Second, civic courage. And so training our students and practitioners in civic courage. I think often in public administration, we're the nameless, faceless bureaucrats. And so we really need to change our mindset. And then third, one of the things, we just came off of our global conference on Saturday. And one of the things that I was really excited about that I wanted to share is doing some sort of campaign that documents, number 1, this is what a public servant looks like. And one of the ways that we could do this is just talking about, I mean, all of our students and everyone across the globe's on social media. So what happens when you get rid of your environmental inspector? You have unclean drinking water. What happens if you get rid of your public school teacher? You don't have an educated population. What happens if you get rid of, the Environmental Protection Agency? You can show photos of Los Angeles prior to the Clean Air Act. And so I think we can do a job in just sending messages and images to re-engage with the public on why our work matters.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah. So thank you to all the panelists. Allow me now to give the floor to Professor Lisa, 2 minutes, just few takeaways from this first session about our main team, please. As you like, since you do it quickly. And after we will have a picture of the panel, and it seems there is some gifts for the panelists to say thank you.
Thank you. I will be quick. And I'll start with the obvious, that I never thought that I would go to an international public administration or governance conference and discuss the Smurfs, McDonald's, airline staff, or flower arrangements. So I have to say these presentations was truly interesting, inspiring, and brilliant. I really enjoyed your presentations very, very much. And you mentioned a number of aspects that I found very interesting and that I'm sure we're going to discuss throughout this conference, including the aspect of citizens in the streets, not just in Latin America, but you find that in Africa as well, because citizens inherently are unhappy about the services that are being provided. They are experiencing challenges with government, and the way they show their satisfaction is by going to the streets. We have the complexity of societies. Societies once more, we have e-services that is increasing every single day. Citizens once more, and I was sitting, listening to you and thinking, when are we getting to the point where we have the governance of government in accordance to Amazon, Temu, Shein, or TikTok? Because that is what the citizens seems to be interested in. And what they see in the private sector and online is what they're expecting from us. And it's not always within our capabilities to provide that and to do that in that timely manner that they expected. We spoke about skills and knowledge, and skills and knowledge have a shelf life. We teach students today, they graduate tomorrow, and within a year, what we taught them is, in many instances, irrelevant. Sometimes if you ask a student, what did I say in the previous year, they don't remember because so much has happened in government in the meantime that it just becomes irrelevant. And that inevitably leads me back to the last statement that you made on what does a public servant look like? Do we still really know what they look like? And that inevitably takes me back to when I was a child. And when I was growing up in our house, my parents were public servants. They worked for government, they were in the public service, and I grew up with the notion, the realization, and the expectation that I would go into public service because you need to be of service to other people. Citizens needs to be at the center of your heart. You need to care about them. And I'm not sure that exists anymore. Perhaps we have moved to a society, as you mentioned, that is instant, fast, quick, online, and the service of being a public servant is not there anymore, and children don't grow up with the mindset that gets created of being of service to others, caring for others. And also when we create mindsets when we are young, in our houses, with our parents, in our homes, we currently look at what our governments are doing. Children are viewing our leaders online, thinking, how can you say that? How can you take money away from education, healthcare, and important services and allocate it to militarization, for example? So what is the example that we are also creating to the youth that is going to be our future public servants? We need to care about them, we need to cradle them, and we need to motivate them to care about society and to be there for the rest of the citizens around them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Lisa, for these outcomes of our and takeaways of our first plenary session. So please, again, thank you very much to our panelists, to the audience. Let us move for a picture of this panel. And I will invite Anastasia. Yeah, let's go there.